Okay, so here we find ourselves with, I guess, Mark II of the Bo Peep Skunkmobile. Getting pretty into this, as you can see, it's sort of progressed quite a bit from just the first cage rolling now to the whole thing going. So as you can see, it folds all the way up, and even silly little details like putting the little hands and claws on it. I kind of feel that this has turned out really much better than I expected, actually. I wasn't sure whether this would I think I just got a lucky guess on the spring force and the way these things came together, as it was just what I had to hand. But it's nice that it feels sturdy enough that it will take the shock, and also it feels like it transfers it appropriately, depending on, you know, whether you hit it from underneath or from the top or straight on or at the side. These locking pins feel pretty sturdy, and so as you can see, they sort of dock in there, and that has actually given it a lot more rigidity than I had anticipated, and so I'm really pleased actually how that's come together. And again, I even used that little system of sort of plugs, of just little bits of dowel stuffed into some ABS tubing, plastic tubing, a bit like this stuff. So yeah, I think got these little fellas, and what, in case you hadn't realised from some of the earlier things, it's that they effectively have the same sort of, should we say, character as a mudguard, but I guess I'll sort of stylize them up to be the little digging claws. Turns out that these ones on the side, I haven't actually, cardboard isn't quite as malleable as obviously the fur fabric, so it doesn't drape. But even then, I think I'll still have to do a little bit of fiddling around just to get it right, as you might notice that they change as they get tilted. So you can see that's just a little toothpick that's powering that mechanism, if you could call it that. So I think I'll probably still have a little bit of playing around when the actual fabric comes, but at least I sort of feel like there's at least a plan B of how to make sure that these don't get tangled when driving around and still when being lifted up. But I feel that this is the general basics of the whole thing. The other nice thing that I was really pleased about is that by some sheer chance, I'm not really going to hold this, but you just have to take my word for it, that the centre of gravity lines up pretty much bang on those little centre points. So I'm kind of hopeful that actually the remote control car will handle nicely as expected. So all of those little considerations sort of have to be worked in. And also the sort of general weight of this, I think this is actually sort of overweight at the minute, because despite what you might imagine, glue gun is actually quite heavy by the time you layer it all up. And so I think I'll probably be using a lot more sort of wire loops, and depending how I go, will I do 3D print it and CAD it, or will it just be a sort of assembly according to a sort of a pattern of plastic? I don't quite know yet. So I have to see. But either way, this definitely is feasible. This is definitely looking pretty skunky and pretty mobile-y. Next steps.